Welcome, my political friends of the interwebs. Yeah, that's right, it's me. I know I haven't. Listen, I know I've been MIA. I realize that. I get it. Quit busting my balls. All right, listen. I don't like to make excuses, although that's all I ever do. And the truth of the matter is that I've just not been in the mood, to be honest with you. And I got to be in the mood before I start talking about our illustrious commander-in-chief. and his wife Michelle. It's just yeah. So anyway, let's get to it. I've had 1,000,001 questions in the last God knows how long, wanting to know how I felt about everything from Benghazi to the IRS to the the AP story to the Fox News journalists espionage investigation, the whole freaking thing. Okay, all right, I got it. I get it. Lots of shit going on, and I'm literally MIA. Well, guess what? I'm not now. I've escaped. It took me a while. I had some wire cutters, but I got out from behind enemy lines. Somehow, I don't know. I don't even know where to start other than, look. Listen to me. Look. Let me start with this. I'm driving down the road, and one of my guilty pleasures, well, I shouldn't really call it a pleasure because it's really not a pleasure. But one of the things that I do to keep myself informed is I listen to NPR. Along with, conservative radio. I love my conservative radio. But I listen to NPR, and the reason I do that, simple. I like to know what the enemy's thinking. I just do. And no matter what anybody tries to say about NPR, National Public Radio, being unbiased, they're so full of shit. The reason I say this is because I'm listening to NPR, and all I'm hearing from them from the very beginning of this nonsense with the IRS, and even Benghazi, but the IRS is the one that really sticks with me, is the whole sugarcoating of what actually happened and the whole trying to very slyly change the topic of the narrative, the debate, the story, however you want to put it. And what I noticed that they were doing was they were saying, well, as bad as that is, the real crux of it is, the real thing that we've got to get our teeth into is that, this whole tax exemption for these organizations, it really shouldn't exist. That's really the problem that we need to tackle. No, no, that's not the problem at all. That doesn't even need to be on the table right now. If down the road somebody wants to examine whether or not some of these should be 401(c)s or whatever the hell they call themselves, that's fine. But the topic at hand momentarily is that of a federal government, a federal agency on behalf of, you can't convince me otherwise, the administration, Barack Obama, literally trying to stifle opposition previous to an election. Now here's the thing. Listen, just in case you don't understand what really happened. The midterms happened in Obama's the first 2 years. The midterm elections happened, and in Obama's own description, they got shellacked. Remember we said that? Shellacked. And basically, they got their asses handed to them. The American people were done with it. Well, first of all, they woke up and said, holy shit, we've got a communist in the White House, and we've got to stop these bastards. And here come the Tea Party. When I remember, I will never forget ramping up to that first midterm elections. I will never forget the laughter, the joyous laughter from the left pundits, whether it be MSNBC or any of the left-wing media outlets. The laughter about these Tea Party groups. Well, they laughed them off. They're a bunch of fucking clowns, a bunch of idiots, And sometimes they tried to demonize them, but for the most part, they were a big joke. Okay? Up until the results started coming in. And I will never forget this chick. This chick named Leah. Fucking lefty nutjob. This chick named Leah, who was as left as you could get. I will admit I had been talking to her at the time. I've always had a little weak spot for crazy lefties, chicks. I don't know why. Well, they're good in bed. What can I say? So anyway, I remember her tweeting. She's a big tweeter freak. And I can still remember her saying, oh my God, these tea people are winning everywhere. And I laughed. I just laughed when I seen her tweet that. Because she literally was the example of what was going on from the left. They were clueless. They all thought the Tea Party was a joke. These massive movements, and Glenn Beck and Rick Santori, and all, it was all a big freaking joke to them up until the results. Well, then they went into full-blown panic mode. And I mean hardcore, full-blown panic mode. That was what was going on. And Obama was looking at another 2 years, he was going to have to run for re-election. Well, it wasn't even that. Literally a year after that first midterm, he was going to have to go into campaign mode. Not that the man ever left campaign mode, but he understood what was going on. So what did he do? Literally, what did he do? Well, even if he didn't personally dictate orders, okay, he delegated authority. And people with the authority of the President of the United States did utilize the full weight of the federal government to destroy, to crush opposition. So much so that, Vladimir Putin was blushing. Even if you remember at the time, think about this. It's almost bizarre to look back at it. If you remember back at the time, some of the things that Putin was saying, he was warning us because he was a lieutenant colonel in the KGB. Trust me when I tell you, he has got the Russian Secret Service, or I shouldn't say Secret Service. They're not called the KGB anymore. I don't remember what they're called. But trust me when I tell you, he has their intelligence agencies running on all cylinders, guaranteed. And at the time, it was funny looking back because I can remember Putin basically warning the people about becoming communists. Don't do it's what he basically said. That's, and maybe he didn't want competition in that realm of communists. I don't really freaking know. Putin's not really a communist now. He's more of a dictator. But, whatever. Whatever floats his boat. But it was just funny looking back at it. You just see things now. It's like, oh my God, So you had the full force of the federal government, and now we know for a fact the IRS. Honestly, we don't know what other agencies were playing a hand in all this, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was all of them. And they were basically doing everything they could to destroy the Tea Party. And the funny thing is, this is really not funny. It's actually a tragic story. But the funny thing is, you're listening to these Tea Party activists at the time screaming. And they were being described by the left-wing media as being paranoid, schizophrenics, a bunch of nut jobs, a bunch of conspiracy theorists. That's what they were being described as, a bunch of lunatics. And the left-wing media did their very best to try to make them come off like that. When in reality, you had legitimate organizations, legitimate grassroots organizations that were people that were Americans that were trying to be politically active, which is your right. Which is something the left, hypocrite bastards, have always claimed the mantle of. So you had these grassroots activists, these Tea Party members, literally being destroyed, and when they complained about it, the left-wing media made them out to be a bunch of fucking lunatics. Amazing. This is the hope and change. It's been a long time since you've heard that phrase, hasn't it? This is the hope and change. My God. And how any decent, so-called self-described progressive actually fucking goes along with this is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. Well, they've lost all credibility. I'll tell you that right now. Listen, the left-wing, high-horse progressive crowd, okay, the ones that would look down on their snooty little noses at you, and because they were so progressive, they were so above it all, they were so advanced. We were all a bunch of knuckle-dragging mouth breathers. Remember that? You know the type. The Al Franken types. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, look at you now. No credibility at all. You're a fucking joke. Which I guess is, for the most part, poetic because, Al Franken is a freaking comedian. Yeah, Senator Al Franken, progressive, former radio talk show host, former Saturday Night Live alum. Whatever, fucking idiot. So you have that going on, and it's just disgusting, and it doesn't look like, you've got people from the highest echelons of a government agency pleading the fifth. I mean, honestly, how long until the President of the United States pleads the fifth? Of course, he'll just, it's all going to be about executive privilege. I can't wait to see. If Obama doesn't lose his job, which I don't think he will, only because he's black. Yeah, that's right. I said it. The only reason he's not going to lose his job is because he's black. We'll get to that in a minute. But the thing of it is, honestly, I'm just really curious as to how many presidential pardons we're going to see coming out of the White House in the last hours. And can a president actually pardon himself? I don't know. Answer that. If anybody knows, let me know in the comment section. Is Obama going to actually be able to pardon himself? Because I don't think that's the way it works. Otherwise, Nixon would have pardoned himself before he resigned. Because in the end, Gerald Ford had to pardon him. So, I don't know, maybe he didn't have to, maybe he could, I don't know. So anyway, so that's what's going on there, and it's really disturbing. And what's more disturbing to me, as I'm watching NPR, listening to NPR, I've not watched any PBS lately, but I'm pretty much assuming they're on the same page as NPR, just because they've always been on the same page with one another, lefty pieces of shit. But what's really annoying me about that whole scene is that, my tax money actually goes to fund them. Yeah. And I don't want to hear this progressive nonsense about how it's really just a small little number, because it ain't just a little small number. If it was, they'd have gave it up a long time ago to quit hearing this bitch about it. The fact of the matter is that our tax money goes to support those sorry bastards, and all they do is go and they jump in bed with the President of the United States, and they basically propagandize for him. That's exactly what they do. Yeah, that's exactly what they do. Don't you like how the word propagandize just rolled off my tongue? I actually think it's the first time I may have ever used that. Sometimes I surprise myself. So anyway, so you've got that. The Benghazi thing is an absolute disaster. And to be honest with you, here's the sad part. There's so many scandals at one time, it's hard to focus on any one of them. I don't know that that's not by design, to be honest with you. Because Benghazi literally is a crime in itself. People are dead. There was a cover-up, for fuck's sake. And people are like, well, and Hillary Clinton, well, what difference does it make? It makes a huge difference. And here's one of the reasons why. Benghazi happened, somewhere around 4 to 6 weeks previous to the actual election. The actual re-election, I should say, of the president. He knew. Because you remember, at the time, he was stumping around the United States talking about how he had Al-Qaeda on the ropes, they were no longer a threat, And the last thing he needed was to have a freaking ambassador raped and murdered on his watch. And by whom? Yeah, terrorist, Al-Qaeda affiliated Al-Qaeda affiliated terrorists. So what do? Well, they find a patsy, a piece of shit that's hard to defend, and they make him the fucking fall guy. Which, by the way, nobody talks about this. And they don't talk about it because the guy is a piece of shit. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, regardless of how big of a piece of shit this guy is, he is literally a political prisoner. Because nobody can convince me that this guy would have went to jail, period. Had it not been for them trumping up this bullshit about how he stirred up the pot and got the fucking ambassador killed, when they knew that wasn't the case the whole freaking time. You notice nobody's interviewed this guy? Yeah, one person. He's not talking. He is not talking. And I'm going to tell you another thing. When he is released from jail, and I think they only gave him a year, so, but when he is released from jail, I don't know how long it's going to be, but this guy is going to disappear. He'll probably be suicided or killed in some fashion. Maybe it'll be an accident. I don't freaking know. I know it kind of makes me sound like a conspiracy nut, but aren't we kind of past that, people? Seriously? Haven't you been paying attention? If you think I'm starting to sound like a conspiracy nut, you haven't been paying attention. You have not been paying attention. So, there's a reason this guy hasn't been talking. Period. The saddest thing about it is, though, we've got a media in this country that isn't even remotely interested that there's a man sitting in jail right now. Listen, we know now, the whole time they were spewing that nonsense, we know now that they knew that wasn't the case. But they were still publicly trying to kill this dude, still trying to blame him for it, still trying to spent millions of dollars producing a film apologizing for this guy, apologizing for the West, apologizing for the United States, to smooth it over in the Middle East. What? I mean, what? They're using our taxpayer money to basically perpetrate this fraud upon the American people. I mean, I can't remember that dude's name. I used to know it, but for fuck's sake, somebody let him out of jail. It's ridiculous that he's even in jail. Oh, but he broke his conditions of his parole, and he wasn't allowed to be on the interwebs. And shut up. Let him out. The only reason he's sitting in jail is because your president was trying to fucking cover his ass. Fuck, so he could get reelected. And people died. I mean, shit. Seriously? You fucking lefties kill me. You absolutely kill me. Shameless. Well, you know, and I've said this forever. The left is shameless. Absolutely freaking shameless. They've always been freaking shameless. It's a sad situation, but it is what it is. So yeah, the Benghazi thing is unbelievable. Unfucking believable. But you've got the IRS thing, and that's a huge thing too, because listen, bottom line, I don't think Obama gets reelected had they not crushed the Tea Party. Had they not destroyed the opposition, I don't think, I was shocked that the Tea Party didn't turn out like that. I was surprised because they had so much momentum, and then that, you know, during that first midterms, they just kicked so much ass, and then what? Now it makes sense. Now you understand what happened. The United States federal government destroyed them on behalf of the President of the United States. I mean, people, that is as bad as it gets. When you have the full weight of the federal government destroying political opposition for the current administration, it doesn't get any worse than that. That's what are we? So the old Soviet republic, is that what we are? I thought they were a republic, but the old Soviet Union? Is that what we are? We got a Politburo now. We got the premier. We just gonna start calling Obama Premier Obama? You know, I mean, seriously. Al Duce, whatever, I don't know. Der Fuhrer? Or what are we calling this guy? President doesn't seem to fit anymore. Well, I guess maybe. I mean, if you look at some of these banana republics, they've got presidents that wear the military uniform. And when's Obama going to come strutting out with a military uniform? You know, with ostrich feathers and the whole 9 yards. When's that going to happen? Will that be soon? Because I can't wait to see that. You know? So there you go. So you basically got Benghazi, you've got the IRS, and then, well, it doesn't end there. No. You've got phone records basically being stolen without a warrant. That's right. Yeah. And the funny thing about that is, that was AP records. That was lefty records. That's the funny thing about that. That was literally the administration bending over its own mouthpiece and giving it to them hard. And doing a little ass to mouth. You know, literally. They couldn't believe it. But in the end, their absolute desire to be the pieces of shit left-wing media outlet that they are, to be the American equivalent of the former Pravda. The new Pravda, by the way, is a much more reliable source of information than anything we have going in this country outside of the more conservative outlets like Fox and Rush Limbaugh and whatnot. Yeah. That's sad to say, but it's true. You know, I hate to even compare our news today to Pravda because, you know, I always have to put that caveat in that, yes, they are like Pravda, but they are the Pravda of old. Yes, not the Pravda of new, which is actually somewhat credible. You know, somewhat. I don't know how much, but somewhat. So yeah, you know, I thought that was kind of interesting. And if it had been a Republican president, holy shit. But here's the thing. So then you have the United States government investigating a Fox News journalist for espionage. Yeah, how do you like those apples? Espionage. There's no end to it. I mean, literally, there's no fucking end to it. You know, it's just amazing to me. I don't know that there is an amendment in the Constitution that'll Barack Obama. By the way, you know, the constitutional scholar, you know, the constitutional professor, the constitutional whiz, Obama. I don't think there's a freaking amendment in that whole Constitution, that Bill of Rights, that he doesn't want to wipe his ass with. Literally. And I love remembering. I have a little. I see that's part of my problem. I have this memory issue. I can't remember what I had for lunch, but I can remember all the fucking bullshit that the left heaped onto George Bush. That's right. That's right. The mountain of bullshit that they heaped onto him about everything. And in reality, if you stack up old GW next to Barack, are you fucking kidding me? It ain't even close. It ain't even close. At least George Bush was all about the Second Amendment. Here's the other thing. Let me think about this. I don't think it's any kind of mystery. I don't think that it's even something that's debatable now that Barack Obama wants to see the Second Amendment be forever altered. Forever and ever. Now, if you can remember how absolutely pissed off he was when that little Republican roadblock happened and they just couldn't get the votes, and they had too many blue dog Democrats that just wouldn't turn. He was pissed. He was fired up and pissed. I mean, he had paraded all the victims and children and, did all the usual lefty tactics to try to destroy the Second Amendment. And it didn't work. They came close, don't get me wrong, but it didn't work. Okay. Well, guess what? He's still got an ace up his sleeve. Well, he's got a couple of them, actually. But I'm going to tell you what, and I preached this and preached this and preached this and preached this from the top of the mountain. Before he was reelected, I said to everybody, I said, listen, it's 9 men in a robe. Well, not all men. 9 people in a robe. That's what we got to worry about. That's right. That's what we got to worry about, Supreme Court. Now, I don't remember the numbers, but he had managed to put an awful lot of federal judges on the bench in the lower courts. That's going to help him a lot. But it won't be too much longer, I don't think, before he can replace another Supreme Court justice. God forbid one of them's a conservative. And you know what? They're all advanced stages, so you never know, to be honest with you. Even Roberts, who I have fault with, but, even if I didn't have fault with him, the fact of the matter is he's diabetic and I'm a diabetic and I know how devastating that is. He could die of a massive heart attack tomorrow. Yeah, that's right. Believe me, it does not do my heart any good to say these things out loud. Because I know how devastating that would be to our Second Amendment rights. Period. It would be very devastating. But I tried to tell everybody previous, and I always, just today I ran into a liberal gun owner. A Democrat gun owner, a liberal gun owner. Oh, and all I can, I'm so over it, but it just makes me shake my head every time I hear somebody describe themselves as a liberal and a gun owner. Like that's something that can even possibly coexist. I mean, it'd be like dogs fucking cats. It just doesn't, I suppose from time to time that may happen, but it ain't pretty and it's not sustainable. I can tell you that right now. So anyway, yeah. Holy crap, what time is it? I've just been rattling on and on and on. It's 23 minutes into it. Well, hell. I'm amongst friends, and I probably don't have anybody listening anymore anyway, so I don't know. It's a sad situation we've got ourselves into, folks, and I don't know the answers. I really don't. I can point out to you some, pretty basic facts, which I think I've managed to do. But all we can do is hold on and pray for the best, and, I think if I could say one thing to the American people, I would say educate your children. Educate your children, because I'm here to tell you firsthand that kids today are graduating high school, and they don't know jack squat. Honestly. They know their math and they know their shit like that, but they don't know jack squat about the Constitution. They don't know jack squat. I shouldn't say this, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of busting her out, but I've spent a lot of time with Krista in the last, 6 months. She borrows my camera and we shoot videos together and, our little YouTube hobbies and I help her, she helps me. It's pretty cool that we're close like that. But I'll be honest with you, previous to this whole YouTube thing, it's one of those things. She was a kid. I never really paid much attention to her, but I will tell you that since we've spent so much time together in the last 6 months, I was appalled at what little knowledge she had. And I've been educating her. And if you follow her on her Facebook or anything, you'll notice that she has said a lot about politics. And I will proudly admit that a lot of that comes from me. A lot of it does. From my mouth into her ears, out her mouth. It's beautiful, you know. But I mean, I can remember educating her about, you know, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment. You know, what was unreasonable search and seizure, which is always a tricky one. You know, what the actual meaning of the Second Amendment is, and that, you know, that the people always means individual rights when it comes to the Constitution. I mean, these are things that she didn't have a clue about. Now, she does now, and she's pretty pumped about it. But the fact of the matter is that we are producing a whole generation. We've done this now for a long time of constitutional morons. Well, no, that's not the right word. Well, people, listen. We have allowed the Department of Education to victimize our young people. That's what we've done. You know, they've had a purpose for this. They've been on a mission. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that they knew exactly what they were doing. But the fact of the matter is that we've allowed the Department of Education to literally indoctrinate or fail to educate on very important key things that would make them useful idiots in the future. You know, or at least ignorant to the point where, you know, hey, they don't care. You know, I mean, it's appalling to me that you can have a generation of kids that don't even have a clue what the Bill of Rights are. Or, well, get into all that, but I mean, like I said, I don't want to just spotlight her, because she is no exception. Her friends are all the same way. And I am doing my part, and this is what I guess I'm trying to say. I am doing my part to right the wrongs that were done to Krista Blade. Because Krista Blade was victimized by the Department of Education. She was. Now, should her parents have been more vigilant? Yes. Were they? No. Okay? As most aren't. I hate to say it, but it's true. But it's our job to turn that around. We have to turn that around. And if you know young people, don't listen. If they're a relative of yours or somebody that you know, say to them, hey, do you know what the First Amendment is? Do you know what amendment is? Start there, because I think you'd be really shocked. Really. You know, and believe me when I tell you, I really feel in my heart that this is by design. This is why I hate the Department of Education with a passion. Because it has allowed the federal government to behave this way. It has allowed the federal government to mold minds from the earliest of age. But that's a whole nother video, and I'm already pumping at almost a half an hour. Oh, does everybody feel better now that I've had something to say? Because, you know, I know a lot of you were just like, hey, dude, make a video. I don't know if I'm going to put this up as one whole video or if I'm going to break it up. I probably ought to break it up. Half an hour is a lot to ask from people. But, yeah, we'll see. Everybody take care. See ya.